Hey Bree, Mr. Mulaney here. Just going to walk you through the notes for the unit. This is about the structure of the church and specifically the hierarchy and bishops, priests, deacons. Um, and then you already have hopefully read those articles in the articles in the textbook covering the different forms of religious life. So yeah, this is basically kind of like a who's who in the church, the different types of organization in the church, different forms of life in the church. So let's kick it off. The hierarchy. Hierarchy is um, a word that means sacred order or literally ordered by priests. And yeah, when we're talking about the hierarchy, this is like the leadership structure of the church. And yeah, the current organization is the bishops are the apostles to the successors, or the successors to the apostles. And the pope is the head bishop. He's the successor of Peter. Um, Cardinals are um, usually bishop. Like right now, all cardinals are bishops. Technically, it doesn't need to be so. Like anyone could be a cardinal if Pope Francis wanted to like change the rules or whatever. There's nothing to stop him from doing that um, because this is just kind of a lowercase t tradition of the church, and it's a way of electing the Pope. So cardinals are right now all prominent heads of curia, which is um, yeah, Vatican departments. So like you can think like the U.S. cabinet. There's the Department of the Treasury, of Labor, the Department of Education, the Department of the Interior, and the president will appoint um, Secretary of Treasury, Secretary of Education. Um, the Pope does a very similar thing, and it's called the Curia. And these offices, instead of being called departments, they're called congregations. So there's the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, which is like the main teaching office of the Vatican, or the Congregation of Divine Worship, which is the main office in charge of liturgy issues. Congregation for bishops, and they like elect or like help the Pope decide who's going to be a bishop. The people who are in charge of these departments, they are almost always cardinals. And again, it's just a lowercase t tradition. Same thing with important dioceses. So Archbishop Supich, the Archbishop of Chicago, he was just 2 weeks ago made a cardinal. And the reason he was made a cardinal is largely because he was appointed to a diocese, Chicago, that's so important and like prominent that typically whoever runs that diocese is made a cardinal. More on cardinals later. Then there are priests beneath them, deacons, and the laity, all equal in dignity. That's the big thing. Um, they just have different roles, and the hierarchy exists to serve the laity. So um, they are our servants, actually. Um, and yeah, everything from administering the sacraments to um, running parishes, organizing RCIA groups, etc., etc. Everything that the hierarchy does is to serve the laity so that we can be empowered to go out and make the whole world holy. So, some cool pictures here. Um, if you've ever wondered about things like Monsignor or Pastor, um, Monsignor is just an honorary title. I believe Pope Francis did away with it. Pastor just means that they're the head of a parish, and then parish priest means that they are typically not the pastor, but they're still connected to that parish. An abbot is the head of a monastery, so Mount Michael has an abbot at the head of it. And then deacons are typically connected to parishes at the orders of the bishop. Um, Here's another cool picture. And this I like this one because it shows the divide. On the one side, there's secular clergy. This means clergy in the world. And this is like cardinals, archbishops, bishops, priests. The other end of it is religious orders. And so um, monks, nuns, tertiaries, these are separate from these. So the Jesuits, they have their own organization that isn't run by Archbishop Lucas. Archbishop Lucas, if he wanted to, he could kick out the Jesuits from Omaha. He has that power, but other than that, the Jesuits have their own boss, like the superior of the province. Um, and same with the Benedictines, like they have abbots. Um, third orders are like lay people in the world that connect themselves to a religious order. Um, they're increasingly rare. Abbesses are female abbots. Nuns are female monks. All right. So, some basic facts. Yeah, the church teaches that the basic structure of the hierarchy was set up by Jesus. We see Jesus in his ministry creating special disciples called apostles who have special authority. And so we know that at the end of the day, the church can never become like pure democratic society or pure democratic government in itself, because that would go against the way that Jesus set it up. Yeah, clergy and laity are equal in dignity. Clergy exists to serve laity. We get in trouble, and Pope Francis is talking about this all the time, when clergy, it's known as clericalism, where um, either like the clergy or the priest or the lay people set the priests up on a pedestal and think that they're more special than lay people. In reality, they are like the wait staff at a restaurant. Like, no one goes to a restaurant because of the wait staff. You go for the food. The clergy are the wait staff. God's the cook in the back. Um, and the laity, we're the clients of the restaurant. We come and they serve us. The way that the church is organized on a territorial level, it goes province, diocese, parish, domestic church. So we are in the Archdiocese of Omaha. That is part of the province of Nebraska. So this is the United States divided up by provinces. Every color is its own province. So you'll notice that for the most part, it's like one state per province. But there are some like Wyoming and Colorado, or Northern California, Utah, and Nevada. That's all one province. So the reason that it's done like this with provinces is to make reporting to Rome on certain issues easier, and the person who's in charge of a province is known as an archbishop. So this is the difference between bishop and archbishop. When it comes to who reports to Rome, it's the archbishop that will be kind of like the spokesperson for the province. They don't have any power over any other diocese. It's just like if I were to break people up into small groups in the classroom and I said, elect for yourselves a recorder or a speaker for the group, that would be like archbishop of that small group. Everyone else would be just normal bishops. So the way that the church is organized is like provinces are then divided into dioceses, which is made up of parishes, which every parish, when you think about it, is made up of different families or households, which are domestic churches. So I just love thinking about like every home is a mini church, every province is just a macrocosm of the church. Religious institutes or religious orders like the Jesuits, the Benedictines, the RSCJ, they run within and across different dioceses, and we have our own governance, for instance, at Sacred Heart Schools. Yeah, I believe that covers it for Roman numeral 1. Excuse me. The bishops. So, when we talk about bishops, it's important to know that they have 3 offices or 3 jobs. first job is to teach. They teach the faith, um, and they get the final say on like whether or not the teachers of the faith in their diocese are good or not, or like if Archbishop Lucas wanted to, he could fire me because he has say over like who's going to teach in his diocese when it comes to religion. Governing, so this is not like civil government, but like church government. Um, yeah, excommunications or other types of punishment, or if he wants to rearrange parish priests and say, oh, Father so and so, you're going to be the pastor of such and such place now. The bishop has the power to do that. And then sanctifying, they are the main administrator or like the final say on um, who can celebrate the sacraments in a diocese, and they're the only ones that can celebrate holy orders. Um, so, yeah, they serve the diocese by bringing the sacraments and sanctifying it. Every bishop is a successor to the 12 apostles, head of a diocese or an archdiocese. Every bishop is ordained as a priest before becoming bishop. Archbishops, yeah, we covered, they are in charge of provinces, or they have the major diocese in a province, and they report to Rome on special issues. Cardinals, um, right now, every cardinal is a bishop. It doesn't need to be that way. Hopefully, one day we'll see like a wider variety of cardinals. Pope Francis is already getting a lot of cardinals from around the world that never had a cardinal before. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, right now every bishop is every cardinal is a bishop, and together they form what's known as the College of Bishops. This is not like a special university or something. College just means like they are together as colleagues. So they within the bishops, every bishop is equal to the other except for the Pope, who is the first among the bishops. Um, yeah, so college has the same root word as like colleague. Priests and deacons. Okay, so fancy word here, presbyterate or presbytery. And this is the Greek word from which we get priests, and so we still use it when we're talking about all of the priests together or the priesthood. Um, yeah, it's like, oh, the presbytery of Omaha. That would be all of the priests of Omaha. The priests are the primary sacramental ministers on a day-to-day level. They're the ones saying mass, hearing confession, baptizing, along with deacons, and witnessing marriage along with deacons. Uh, they are under the authority of a bishop or a superior if they're in a religious order. And the process of becoming a priest, typically there's a period known as candidacy, where a person is kind of exploring whether or not they might be a priest. Then, if they think, yeah, I think I have this calling, and the church agrees, they will go to seminary, where they, depending on how much education they have already, they'll get a college education, plus then basically like a master's or a doctorate in theology, depending on what they're called to. And at the end of seminary, they will be ordained to the diaconate. They will be made a deacon, and it's known as the transitional diaconate. Because it only lasts a year or two, and it's separate from the permanent diaconate, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then they're ordained priests, and that is like confirmation and baptism, an indelible mark. Even if they're stripped of their priestly capabilities by a bishop, like either as a punishment or they ask to be laicized or made a layperson again, they spiritually still retain their priesthood, or their identity as priests. Diaconate. So fancy word for all the deacons of a parish or a diocese, and it comes from the word for service. They are ordained to ministry, not priesthood. So this is why there's even the possibility that there could be female deacons in the church, because the way that the ordination works has always been understood as separate from the ordination of priesthood. And so they are ordained to ministry or service, like helping the bishop with religious education, service to the poor, um, running parishes. In the early church, there were permanent deacons. We read in Acts of the Apostles, Stephen the Martyr, he was one of the first deacons. Over time, though, the permanent diaconate, like the idea of um, people just being ordained deacons and it not being a transitional thing on the way to the priesthood, but just like, yeah, I'm a deacon, that's what I am, I'm going to die a deacon, not trying to go for a priesthood. Over time, that was lost, and all that remained in the church was the transitional diaconate. Then came Vatican II, and the permanent diaconate was restored, and they made it just like before, where married men could become deacons. So deacons are not called to the same kind of chastity as priests. They can be married. And they serve the church in terms of liturgy by proclaiming the gospel, and they can preach the homily, the word by teaching scripture and proclaiming it, and charity. So they are usually assigned various charitable ministries in the church to help lead or be a part of. All right. Yeah. Hopefully that helps you understand some of the things on the study guide. Um, don't hesitate to email me any questions. I'll also make a video going through the study guide with for the whole class, and I'll make sure that you get the link to that. Yeah, hope you're doing well. We miss you.